All right, great. Well, we want to welcome everybody to, I think what we'll find to be a very interesting and enlightening presentation tonight. We're grateful for Justin's time to be here. Justin, thank you for taking the time to be with us and share some of the research you guys have done and how it affects us as beekeepers. We appreciate that. Also want to add a special welcome to our panelists. Appreciate their time tonight as well. Also, just a couple of housekeeping things for the month of December. We will not have a mini conference due to the holidays, but we will pick back up again in January with another mini conference. We are recording this, and we will post it on the WAS website once we're finished here. And Justin will provide us with his email address during this presentation, and he's invited those of you that want to reach out to him through email. You're certainly welcome to do that. The panelists are able in this presentation to unmute their speakers anytime and jump in as necessary. But those of you that are visiting with us tonight that are not panelists, your speakers will be on mute and you will not be able to unmute them. So we encourage you that if you have a question to post the Q&As in the Q&A section, and we'll get to those at the end of this presentation. Justin's promised that he'll take as many questions and answer as many questions as he can before we end tonight's program. So Justin, from what I understand, you're a graduate of MIT, and you have a master's in an MBA from somewhere. I'm not sure if it's from MIT either, but it sounds like you spent a lot of time in manufacturing engineering.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my background, technically, you're right. I have a 3 degrees from MIT, a couple of material science, one in business. We have, I've been working on, just a little bit of background about me. I'll start with an apology for everybody. Um, there's sort of two parts to the apology. Number one, I actually have come down with a cold. I've got 4 kiddos, and one of them infected me with something, so my voice isn't perfect, and I might have to pause the video and audio for a second or two to partake in some tissue. So that's number one, and I apologize ahead of time. Actually took an antihistamine for the first time in 15 years, so I'm hoping I dry up a little bit for this presentation, but just a
Well,
heads up,
don't
that
fall
might
asleep
happen.
during
I
this.
won't fall asleep. This is too exciting to fall asleep on. But the second thing is, I'm not the greatest public speaker that we have at Terra Vera. So Carlos Perea, my co-founder, he's on a plane right now. Otherwise, he'd probably be doing this. But you get a much more technical bent to what we're talking about today. Um, a little bit more about my background. Was kind of a serial entrepreneur for a little while. Spent some time at Intel and some other places. But For the last 20 years, 20 plus years, I've worked on oxidative technologies. So one of the largest suppliers, I was essentially the one of the engineering leads in one of the largest companies that does oxidative technologies. So chlorine dioxide, sodium hypochlorite, any oxidative technology. I've either been a part of a generator that could generate it, or was a part of figuring out how to get it into different markets. And really, this technology comes from some innovation that happened right before I left to found Terra Vera. And this is a technology that really resounded with me. All oxidant technologies have really positive attributes, but they also have negative attributes too. This is an oxidant that I almost feel like we're able to tune for specific applications. And we're able to tune it to be able to, for example, affect the varroa mite, but not affect honeybees. And so we'll get to that as I kind of step through the presentation, but just wanted you to know this is this is not a kind of, we've only been in this market for 1 year, Terra Vera itself. We're 4 years old. We got our start in indoor agriculture. But this is really, this really comes apart as almost a moral obligation, because we saw a problem here in apiculture that we thought we could help resolve. So I'm really curious. I'm very open to any feedback. Again, I'm very new to the apiculture culture, I would say. So, feel free to challenge me, especially at the end. I think we're kind of holding questions till the end. Panelists, of course, pop in anytime you have a comment or a question. But excited to chat with you guys. And really, this is about protecting the future of honeybees, with the technology that we've been working on, that again is very safe and good for ag. See if I can make my computer actually work. Okay, here we go. So I know you guys are all beekeepers or beekeeper adjacent. I think we all know that without bees, there's not good food security. We lose a lot of colonies every year. Before we started this meeting, I heard some conversation about some of that, as well as some conversation about maybe some of it's not 100% well understood. I completely understand that after a summer being in this market. I can tell you that there is so much stuff that needs to be understood. It's actually very exciting to me. And as important as it is, with a third of the world's food crops depending on it, as well as our need to be able to increase those food crops as the population grows, and as we move forward kind of in society. Our mission at ApiVera, or Terra Vera, and ApiVera is kind of a brand of Terra Vera. It's what we're targeting towards honeybees. It's really to help save the bees and be a part of, and we don't think we're a one-stop, solves all these issues sort of technology, but we do believe we can be a really, really important tool in the tool chest. I'm sort of by nature a skeptic, being a scientist, and an engineer. And in fact, when we very first discovered that our technology or a variation of it could affect mites, I was very skeptical. And I'll show you some videos here in a second that I'm sure we have a lot of scientifically thinking folks, which I've actually really appreciated this last year, spending some time with beekeepers and folks that are really involved in apiculture. I've really enjoyed seeing how scientifically driven they are, and that they're really looking for real world solutions. So we have a solution that we have seen and we've demonstrated in the lab and in the field as well, that can really have an impact on diseases and pests. We've seen, well, this isn't our work, but other researchers who've used the exact amino acids that we're using have published, third-party peer-reviewed papers that show that these amino acids can improve bee cognitive function and productivity. This is all biodegradable and sustainable. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go through. And it's very user-friendly and scalable. Now, all that positive stuff being said, we're at a juncture as a company where we're really looking for help, both on the, what is your opinion of this? What do you think about it? As well as even financially putting yourself behind maybe helping us bring this to the market. And so I'll sort of park this here, and I'll sort of end with it a little bit later. But being a year into this, being a new company relatively starting in 2020, we're searching for revenue, we're searching for support. So really appreciate even your attention this evening. So this is actually one of the very first videos I ever took of using our chemistry on varroa mites. It's time elapsed a little bit. I think this is about a 2-minute clip here. But basically what we were doing is we're taking our activated amino acid solution, which again is made out of all food grade precursors, and fogging it onto some mites. And we did these exact tests, and these are kind of our lab trials, and really just proof of concept trials, because we all know that it's more difficult to actually get these kind of things into the hive. But we showed mites being inactivated time and time again at, less than 5 minutes for sure. 3 minutes was kind of the 95% level. And the really cool thing about this again is the precursors, the thing that goes into making the solution work, are amino acids that are known to enhance bee health. And again, we'll talk about that as I kind of step through this presentation. But this is we've run this exact same kind of lab study a lot of times. And again, they're varroas on a petri dish, right? It's very different than varroas on a bee in a hive, in a complicated, 4 or 5 stack environment. But it's shown to be pretty effective if you can get it to the varroas, which is sort of where we are today, making sure we optimize all those sort of things. Let's see. In addition to varroa, we've actually partnered with some other researchers, and I'm not sure if you guys can hear. Um, I don't know exactly how to mute this, but these are trophy mites or Trophilapsis mites. And this was work that was done in Bangladesh by Dr. Samuel Ramsey. And essentially his team sprayed this mite. And we have a couple of examples of them spraying the mite. And I don't know if you can see it, but it stopped moving very, very quickly. And the challenge with trophy mites is, again, and I'm not telling you guys anything you don't know. Well, one, they're not in the United States yet, but two, they spend a lot of their time under the cap of under the wax cap, and so that's something we're going to have to try to figure out how to deal with. We are working on some technology to do it. I actually filed a patent. Literally yesterday was the provisional filing on it that we think is going to get us there. It's not what we're starting with our commercial launch here in the United States, but that is something that's coming along. But I show these two videos just to show that the chemistry itself really has kind of and I hope you guys can see these well. But they tend to have a pretty dramatic effect on mites pretty quickly, which is again part of the reason why we got so excited about this specific market. I just paused the video. Why we got so excited about this market was, it seems like there's at least room for additional tools in the tool chest, and we might be able to provide something that's very safe, again, safe for the bees, safe for the honey. All of the ingredients that go into this are food grade, and so very compatible with treatments. When you have a lot of honey in your hive, or you're on a honey flow or nectar flow, and so you can really it's again another tool in the tool chest, and maybe something that can replace some of the other tools in the tool chest that require high levels of PPE, that kind of stuff. Okay, so I this threw this slide up. There's a lot of alternatives out in the field for pesticides and miticides. Again, mites have been such an issue for a while. I think folks understand what miticides there are, what the benefits and disadvantages of them are. We all also know that our bees are overall suffering from the quality of their food and their ability to forage. So the ability to provide some nutrients and supplements at the same time that you're doing miticidal treatments, and that's really where we come in. We're a preventative as well as a treatment product. Again, all of the ingredients are food grade and natural. I just showed you a couple of videos of how it works. And because it's an oxidative technology, we don't anticipate resistance buildup. And we can talk a little bit more about that at the end, but that's definitely where we sort of started. One of the disadvantages, and I'll say this a little bit differently than these two bullets state it, but we don't fit well. Our technology does not fit well within current current laws and legislation, specifically with the EPA. You know, there's not a lot of provision for something that provides both a nutrient that's safe and that also, you know, helps control these bugs. And so, you know, there's two approaches to the market that we're taking. One of which is to provide a nutrient to the, you know, a fog nutrient into the hive. And the other one is actually going through EPA registration. We've started the process for that, for a different blend than our nutrient or more nutrient related blend. But you know, that is something that has been a bit of a challenge for us as we've thought through this. The other disadvantage for our technology is it sort of requires, and I'll talk about this in a second. It requires a fogging applicator. It's not something you can, you know, dribble into your hive without having an apparatus there to generate this chemistry. It's not inherently stable. So how does it work? I get this question all the time. And you know, it's one of those questions that I really love and I really hate at the same time because, you know, how does anything really work? We have empirical evidence that shows that it does. What we use in this chemistry is a similar chemistry, and it's actually in some ways the exact same chemistry that all mammals generate in their immune systems. So we figured out a different way to generate it. And that's where the biomimicry, we get a lot of a lot of questions about some of our claims that this is something that mimics kind of a biological response. This is exactly it. So your body is made up of proteins and amino acids. All your proteins are made up of amino acids in your body. Um, there's over 500 amino acids. There's 22 that are considered the most important. And really what we do is we take these amino acids and you know, there's a functional group and there's an amino side. The amino side is sort of how the amino acid interacts with either other amino acids to form a protein, or in our case, it's how it interacts um, with halogens to create a very, very weak and controlled oxidant. All of our amino acids, again, are food grade. They actually can be purchased in a GNC or a Vitamin Cottage store. So what we do is we take these unreacted food grade precursors. So again, we have an amino acid there on your left. We have a chemical carrier, so water, as well as a halide salt, or in some cases, a protonated amino acid that has a halide with it. Again, that's just a way of getting a halogen into the reactor. We activate it. It's a catalytic reaction, very similar to what happens in reverse in catalytic converters in vehicles, and we create a weak oxidant, so an organic haloamine. There's a few different types of those haloamines. Um, you know, there's one's a di a dihaloamine or a monochloramine, and so both of those are possible with those reactions. And these are kind of well known and well understood um, oxidants. In fact, they've been evaluated. One of the ones that we use in some of our blends is has been evaluated for treating COVID, for treating cystic fibrosis. You know, there's um, several patents that are issued or at least proposed or published on how you can use some of these organic haloamines. But the big issue with haloamines is even though they're effective and good disinfectants, they're very unstable. Their shelf life can be on the order of, you know, hours to maybe weeks in the case of some of the more stable ones. And so getting good coverage and being able to handle their stability have been the biggest challenges with getting these things used in different agricultural applications. And so what you see there on your right is a picture of um, our um, our ApiVera fogger. It has both the activation technology as well as the fogging technology built into it. So what you essentially do is you put a solution of amino acids, again, food grade amino acids, as well as some carbohydrates, some sugars. You put it in the activation chamber, you activate it, and then it's fogged throughout the hive where it has interactions with with the mites as well as the bees. The bees, we've had bees consume it. They seem to act very similar to what happens in a sugar spray. We just completed a field trial here in New Mexico where it tends to calm them down, and they act again very similar to what they would act like if you were to expose them to a sugar spray. So both the stability as well as the good coverage in an agricultural application are things we've sort of solved with this fogger, and you can see it kind of sitting on the top of this hive. So I'm going to do a quick look under the hood of what our new fogging technology looks like. So that's kind of it from back to front. Again, it sits onto the hive. Oops, I meant to pause it and I started it over. Sorry, guys. So it's got several components. The activation chamber is where the activation happens. It's where we run the electrocatalytic reaction to convert it from an amino acid to a haloamine oxidant. Once it goes through the activation chamber, we put it onto into the fogger. So this is actually a puck that has 12 piezoelectric vibrating apparatuses. So it creates a really dense fog that has it almost behaves like a fluid itself. There's the housing that holds it all together, and then the fans actually blow and circulate it through the hive. And so I think on this next slide, I have a video. Yeah, a video sort of how it works. Got some animated bees in here, which is cool. But again, you put your amino acid and your salt solution in, you activate it, pull the top off your hive, set it onto your hive, and it generates the fog, and the fog is then circulated through the hive. And happy bees are obviously the desired result. This is sort of the fogger in action. Again, we've completed a recent field trial with this fogging technology. It's tended to work really well. I'll talk a little bit about the results we have now. I'll start with the caveat, I guess. This was a limited trial over 5 weeks on just 12 hives. We did get some, I think, pretty apparent results. Our treated hives had a much higher survivability rate than our untreated hives. Most of them started with mite counts that were in the via the alcohol method from 3 to 5%. And so, you know, they were sort of in the at least getting close to the danger range. Our treated hives had a much higher survivability rate. They also showed a marked improvement in colony health. We had it was surprising. It seemed like there was a lot more propolis production versus the untreated hives. We had improved populations versus the untreated hives. The behavior was better. And we also had less disease and lower mite counts. And again, this was purely a treated versus untreated. This wasn't us treated with ApiVera versus treated with some of the other technologies that you can use. But it at least showed that we could have a pretty positive effect on overall hive health. We've created a bit of a buzz in the industry. So, again, we showed essentially last year that right in the fall that we could have a dramatic impact on varroa mites and not necessarily have a negative impact on bees. And so we've had kind of a year on this. We've serviced since then over 500 treatments individually. We've worked with some different researchers in the field. Dr. Jeff Pettis is one, Dr. Ramsey's another. There's some folks on this call, Dr. Oliver, that I would really love to get our chemistry and our solution potentially into their hands. We have several more on the horizon. We're looking for research partners, especially as we come out of the spring. We've created specific, unique formulated bee formulations, and again, these are we chose amino acids that have been shown in the literature to be good for bee cognition, bee health. There's there's more amino acids in our blend, but three of the amino acids in our blend, two of them have been shown again to improve bee cognition. The other one is an important component of some of the more important pollens. And we're working with Dr. Pettis to help us get EPA miticide registration and navigate that process for a different blend, not the nutrient blend. This shows a little bit about our timeline, and really the reason I wanted to show this is, again, we're talking 2023 in October that we sort of we did the very initial work that I showed you some videos of where varroas died and bees were not necessarily affected. And that's kind of to where we are today, which is, trying hard to push this technology to be able to commercialize and get this in the hands of beekeepers as soon as possible. We're going, right now here in November, we're going with pre-sale of our fogger systems. I showed you a couple of pictures of it as well as a video of it. It is not manufacturing ready today, and that's really what our pre-sales we're hoping they're able to help us do, which is get us to the point where we really understand the demand, really understand what this can do, or what we can do with this in this market. We do look to early next year, going into spring, being able to get these units in the hands of beekeepers. We have a great team. My co-founder, Carlos Perea, as well as Catherine Radovan. Very different backgrounds, but a lot of cool experience. We have our marketing person, Amanda Stevenson. She's done a great job helping us pull together things for this market, as well as we've reached out to some industry folks. Again, Dr. Chuck Bettis, we have talked about him a couple of times, but he's helped us kind of navigate ourselves to where we are today, and where we're headed in the future. And so, yeah, this is my my shameless sales plug, I guess. We really do need help bringing this technology to market. As a part of that, what we're trying to do is give folks a limited time offer to get the best pricing that really we'll ever do on these foggers, as well as some complementary treatments. If you're interested, our pre-sale on these units starts on Tuesday. And again, we're looking to deliver these next year, ready for spring. If that's not something you're interested in, we're looking for folks to either reserve a spot so that because we are seeing a lot of demand for how this goes. So we're looking for, if you want a spot there, there's an opportunity to do that, as well as just keeping informed of what's going on with our product launch. And so that's sort of it. I'm gonna end on that slide, and I'm super open to any questions you guys have. I know I spoke a lot. I'm surprised I didn't have to stop and sneeze or cough, but I guess the antihistamin's working.
Yeah, thank you, Justin. That was great. So a couple of questions have come up. One is, how many hives an hour can you treat with your device?
It's a great question. The device that I showed you, it can treat a hive in about 6 to 10 minutes, depending on the specifics of the hive and how it's set up and how big it is. We've already contemplated. We know that's not good enough for some, or not fast enough for some larger commercial beekeepers. We have in the works a device that will do the same level of treatment in roughly a minute.
Great. Yeah, thank you. So we had another question is, how's it powered? How's your unit actually, how do you power it?
So this unit itself can be powered one of two ways. The way that we've been powering it in the field is with either a generator or a battery, kind of an inverter battery. Your typical 500-watt battery can give you the treatment up to about 15 to 20 hives, again, depending on some of the specifics of your hive. Um, it requires a 110 connection, and so that's sort of how that shakes out. We actually limited the capacity of this specific device to be something that could run off of a 110 inverter that ties into a truck battery. So again, trying to think of beekeepers in the field, being able to plug into something, and that's really what it shakes out to be.
Great. Had somebody ask also if this is a proctolin-based
Can
chemistry.
you repeat that?
Proctolin. Let me
I'm
spell it
not
for you.
from.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not.
Proctolin.
I am not familiar with that term, so I don't know.
Yeah, that came from Lyndon. If you or Franklin Linden, if you have any more clarification, just post that and we can ask it. So another
You
question
bet.
that came up, Justin, was how much does this weigh, your device?
Good question. A lot less than a lot less than um, a lot less than a 10 frame hive filled with honey. Um, single single thing. It's about 20 to 25 pounds.
Yeah, so the follow-on question to that was, so you put it on top of your hive and you run it
Yep,
and it does its magic, and then when it's finished, you take it off, put the lid back on, go to the next hive, right?
absolutely. Mhm.
Okay. Ian, you raised your hand.
Yes. When you did your treatments, what time of year was it? What kind of staging was the nest at?
So we did treatments all summer with different beekeepers and different approaches. Again, we've been working on optimizing sort of the configuration of the fogger. What we started, and you can probably even see some of these older videos on our website. What we started with is not where we are today. We were really trying to focus on getting the best dense fog delivery into the hive to get the best efficacy. So towards the tail end, we where we ran our field trial was, end of September into October. So as we were sort of shutting down some hives for the winter, but we do have treatments that started, in the spring.
You're looking at it's kind of a flash treatment then
It's a
considered.
flash. Well, that's one of the advantages as well as one of the disadvantages of our chemistry, right? When you put it into the hive, once you are done and once it dries up, it converts into things that the bees can use. So it's amino acids and sugars. They can use it in the hive. I think that's one of the reasons. And again, I don't have this 100% baked out, but that's one of the reasons why we think we had increased propolis is there was increased nutrients in the hive, and they were also looking to try to seal the hive better. And so and that was a very strong observation. I don't know, and maybe there's someone on this um, on this thread that can help with this, but I don't know what a way to quantify the amount of propolis in a hive, but it was very clear. These hives were all set next to each other, and when you'd open a hive that wasn't treated, it was dramatically different.
How many days a drop were you finding mites when you started treatment? After the 10 minutes of treatment was done, how long did the mite drop last?
It's a great question. We didn't run the test exactly like that, and maybe we should think about that a little bit. What we would do, especially in the field trial, is we do a 24-hour mite drop, and these were all single stack hives. We do a 24-hour mite drop um, before treating the hives. Then we would treat the hives and then do a 24-hour mite drop. And we got, this was part of the reason we're still optimizing this. But we got mite drops, on average between 6 to 8 times, the post versus pre. We did not do what's it look like 1 hour after, what's it look like, 5 hours after. We just did 24 hours pre and 24 hours post. and compared those to each other. We still think there's opportunity to improve the distribution of the fog throughout the hive, with the fan orientation, and as well as some of it's the same apparatus that you guys are seeing, but it's really kind of software optimization, and that's part of what we're looking to do with our crowdfunding stuff that you see in front of you there. But I don't know if that helps answer your question.
Maybe you're talking about a 5% mite infestation in the colonies to begin with, right?
Yep.
So then did you shake after the treatments then?
So we it's funny, these were smaller hives, so we didn't do a pre and a post. We just tracked the mites once a week through the treatment time. And what we saw was either decreases in the washes as we got through the 5 week period, and we saw just explosions in mite populations, as you might expect, in the ones we did not treat. So again, this wasn't a trial that we ran against other control methodologies. This was really just a treated versus untreated trial.
And how often were you treating?
We treated 4 hives once a week, and we've treated another 4 hives twice a week. And the good news is we didn't see a lot of difference between the hives that were treated once a week versus the hives that were treated twice a week. They seem to behave pretty similarly, which, given the life cycle of the varroas, and again, Randy, I just spent a little bit of time with your model. I think it makes sense if you look at it in view of when mites emerge and all that sort of stuff. That's pretty well elucidated in your model.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Justin, there's this $64 million question that showed up on the Q&A, and that is, how much does the unit cost? And then what's the cost of your treatments once you own the unit?
That is the great question. So with this 20% off the fogger, don't hold me to this because I'm the technologist. I'm not the how much we're charging for this. But the fogger itself, with the 20% off, is $395. The treatments themselves will be, I believe, on the order of $20 a treatment.
Oh. Well, that's certainly as reasonable or more reasonable than other delivery systems that we use now. So this is something that, the hobbyist beekeeper may not have a place for in their beekeeping, but they could, as clubs, right, buy this and then share it around with the club and use it.
Absolutely. And we've seen, folks that, I don't know, a lot of the folks who've shown a lot of interest in, that are beekeepers are folks that really want to go with a more organic, more, where they actually really understand kind of what the chemistry looks like and what it might be doing to their honey and some other stuff there. And I don't claim to be an expert in this yet. Again, we've been working on apiculture now for a year, and so I caveat myself all the time because I'm sure I have, with the 45 participants that are on this, I'm sure I have 100 times more experience that I'm talking to right now. But we really do, and have engaged some pretty experienced beekeepers, and we really do believe we have something here that can really help the industry.
So if I were to, like, behind me, these beehives stacked up in my shed, if would there be a way to be able to make that delivery system blow into the front of the colonies to make it more of a commercial type app? You're talking a 10-minute treatment though, right?
So the 10 minutes, it's not really a minute thing. It's an intimacy of the chemistry getting into the hive thing. And so what you're talking about is very possible, where you don't have to remove the top of the hive. We have talked about a lot of different methodologies kind of for a commercial beekeeper to be able to do, again, thousands of hives very, very quickly. The unit that I showed you today is not that unit. And I do believe an order of magnitude improvement in terms of treatment time is very possible. It's just the technology sort of let us down this path, as well as, you know, we seem to have gotten a fair amount of industry pull for it. The commercial unit will look a lot different. And it may, just like you said, Ian, it may plug into the front of a hive, and that's how you fog it. I think that's completely doable and possible.
I'm just thinking out loud because we have all these colonies sitting in the shed all winter long, pretty much broodless. And I tried oxalic vaporizing in a shed, and it doesn't work. It's deadly. It's not good for anybody's health, even when you have the proper equipment. I tried to do it, and my lungs hurt, so I'll never do that again. Even I tried because
Ian,
the opportunity is there, but you're talking about this benign substance that is somehow, I lost you a little bit, but you got it into a fog and you can bring it into a colony and you can kill the mites at a 95% efficacy. And that just rings a bell in my head. Like, I have nothing to do all winter, or I could send my employee around all winter just to kill those mites. It is a perfect opportunity to apply some kind of a treatment like yours. It just kind of really interests me.
we are right now looking for, I mean, one of the things, so we're in New Mexico, we're based in New Mexico. You know, so our season's done. So our ability to do development, our ability to do you know, trials is you know, has basically dropped off to zero. And which is super frustrating for me as the technologist. So I'd love to chat with you offline about what opportunities we might have there. I mean, I can get you a fogger. It's not of the it's not it's not as far along as the one that I showed you, but I can get you one of the foggers that we've been using to do sort of our initial trials pretty quickly if you're interested in trying it.
Oh yeah, it would be like we started a tech transfer program up here, and I have a guy that's really keen on, solving problems. Um, this is right up our alley. If you don't mind, maybe I could get your email address
So
offline.
my
And we
email
could,
address, it's supposed to be here and it's not on this presentation. My bad. I meant to put a slide where it was in here. It's very simple though. It's Justin, Justin at Terra Vera, TerraVera.com. And again, feel free to email me. Anybody who's on this, if you have any questions or want to do some additional follow-up, again, feel free to email me. But yeah, well, I'd love to.
Justin, what kind of, in Ian's case, what kind of PPE does he need? Can you inhale this?
You can inhale this.
You can.
You can.
So it's reactive against the mites, but not reactive against your lung tissue.
Your body generates this exact chemistry, Randy. I mean, I've used the term stolen, but it's a chemistry that all mammal immune systems generate. And that's why we're able to tolerate it so well. Again, the reason why you don't see this all over the place is because it's not stable. It's not shelf stable. I mean, the most stable one of these compounds we've been able to look at that's based on sort of simple amino acids has a half-life of a couple of weeks. And if you start thinking about, I'm a drug company or I'm a pesticide company, I'm going to manufacture something and send it out. That's just not even close to long enough. So that's why you have to have, a fogger or a generator, something like that to generate the chemistry sort of as you want it, as you need it. And that's one of the great things about the chemistry too, is that it doesn't persist in the environment very long. It's essentially not measurable over the background of the organics that are present in the matrix.
Great, Justin. So we have a few more questions here. If we can, so you answered one of them that Randy had asked was sort of, and I think Ian kind of hinted to that too, what sort of PPE do you need? And you don't need anything, right? Just put it on and you're good to go.
Yep.
Okay. And then somebody asked a question that how long do you go between treatments with this device?
It's interesting. We're still working on that a bit. Again, I'm spending some time with Randy's model. to understand that what I think it should be a little bit better. But what we were looking at and what we had decided to recommend to start with is 5 treatments, kind of 1 time a week to really get yourself either back under control if you were starting to get out of control, or to just do a good maintenance session. Because the reality is, where the chemistry where it is today does not penetrate the wax cap. Now we just filed a patent on some chemistries that we think eventually we'll be able to. They're in development right now. I'll put that out as a teaser. But yeah, it's right now how it stands is it would be something like that, or combining this treatment with some other treatments, which we have not done a lot of work to think about that either. And it's something that we're still working on.
Great. So how do your treatment packets come? So you showed the well that you
Yep.
put the stuff in it. So how does that come as part of this?
So the way that it would come is, it would come as either a single treatment packet or a multiple treatment packet. And what you would do, the single treatment packet, you would basically take the packet, and you get a liter, you'd measure out a liter of water that you had on site. You'd pour the packet into the water, and then you dissolve it, and then you pour that packet into the device. That's kind of a single use packet. If you have multiple hives, you're not going to want to have a single use patent, or a single use packet. So you'd have like a 1 gallon packet that you can use for treating like 4 hives. It's about a liter, little under a liter per hive that we typically recommend, again, depending on the size of the hive a little bit. And you pour that in, and you hit the button, and the system's off and running.
All right, good. So they're all prepackaged, and
They're all it's prepackaged. The only thing you have to do is you mix it with your water on site, and you put it into the unit.
yeah. So there's another interesting question here. It sounds like it doesn't penetrate the wax cap yet, and you're working on that. So it probably is not effective on cat brood then, or is it
It's not on
uncapped under cap brood, under the brood cap?
No, and
And trade.
Yeah, and that's the reason for the kind of a 5-week, once a week kind of recommendation for doing the treatment, is you give all your mites an opportunity to emerge, so you're able to get at them.
All right,
then.
good. So then the follow-up question that somebody asked on that is, how do you manage this with honey supers on your hive?
Again, all of our ingredients are food grade.
Right.
There's, whether you have honey, whether you have honey supers, again, there's no effect of this technology on that. It's all food grade.
Okay. So somebody asked, is the amino acid you're using related to not endorphin, but endomorphin 1?
I don't know what endomorphin 1 is, so I would say no. These are very standard amino acids that you could purchase. Again, the special way that we blend them, the special way that we activate them, we combine them with some carbohydrates, again, some sugars, so that they're you get kind of a positive affect in the attitude or of the bees. That's kind of that's kind of where the special part is.
Okay. Yeah, so in our amino acid treatments, when we're using a vaporizer, you have to it's advised you close up all the holes and and keep the vapor trapped in the hive as long as you can. Is that the same approach with your device as well?
We've done it both ways, and I will tell you, I just physically think that it does a better job if you remove the top, you put the device on, and you run it. That is not borne out in the limited. Again, we're fairly new at this. That is not borne out in the limited data that we have, which is, we get really pretty similar mite drops whether you block the hive entrance or not. Again, it's a pretty quick, it's draping a towel across the front of the across the front of the hive. for 10 minutes. We did that with most of our treatments. Again, because we thought that gave us the best chance to get the best coverage into the hive. But the data actually doesn't bear out that it matters, at least to this point.
So how's the temperature range for treatment affect the treatment itself?
Great question. So if you're comfortable fogging your bees with something that's wet and basically making them wet, the chemistry works. So it really turns into do you start getting nervous when your lows start getting into your 40s, your highs aren't getting into the 70s? It's really that kind of question. The chemistry is effective all the way up as hot as it gets, 110 degrees Fahrenheit. The chemistry itself does auto degrade if you try to keep it stable at about 125 degrees Fahrenheit into the amino acids and salts that it is. Again, it's relatively unstable, but because we are activating it and fogging it at almost the exact same time, it really doesn't matter what the temperature is. The active chemistry and the part that actually delivers the oxidant doesn't change.
Okay. Yeah, great. So Cayman Reynolds had a question for you. He wanted to know if you guys will have a booth at the North American Honeybee Expo this year. He's asking for a friend. That's like ED treatment, right? You ask for a friend.
You're asking the wrong Terra Vera guy.
Yeah, Carlos is on the line. Can you hear me?
Oh, hi, Carlos.
Yeah, the answer is yes. Sorry, guys. I've been on a plane, so I've only been listening for the last few minutes. But the answer is if he'll have us, if we have to beg too much, I don't know. But if he'll have us, we'll be there.
So Cayman, there you go. You know who to reach
As a matter
out.
of fact, I was told by a lot of folks that is the place and the only place that we have to really go. So I don't know if that's...
That hurts Was, Carlos. You're killing us. Okay. Let me look through here, you guys, and just see if we've got Ian stepped off and said thanks for your time tonight.
Hey,
any questions from anybody? Cayman, there you are. Thank you.
hey, so I had something going on. I wanted to be here for the whole thing. I've just caught about the last 30 or so minutes. Yeah, I missed part of Ian's stuff, which that didn't really hurt my feelings. But I like to pick on him. But no, we're excited to have you guys there. I know you guys do have a booth. My main question is will there possibly be product or like pre-orders, or is there anything we can do to help you have a successful event there? Because this is exciting, of course, have more technology for varroa.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know if you can see the screen right now, but we are doing a limited time offer to do pre-sales on these. Where again, this is the best pricing that we will ever put this at, as the technologist who's developing it. So it's 20% off the fogger plus the first 2 treatments. Again, the price of the fogger itself is $395. There's an opportunity to register if for whatever reason you don't want to make that kind of commitment, but you want to save a spot, because again, we are looking at a significant amount of demand from folks, and so we want to give folks, if they're interested in reserving a spot, their ability to get one at a different discount, as well as even just if you'd like to keep us in mind or keep us, have us be a part of our newsletter as we go through kind of our product launch this winter and through the spring. We have the opportunity to do that too. So it's on the screen right now. So yeah, I mean, terravera.com/ApiVera. That's where, again, starting Tuesday, we'll be doing pre-sales on this.
Excellent. I know that it'll be popular there, but if you guys feel the need, you're welcome to post into our expo group, and we will sell some units for you and make sure you lighten that load as quickly as possible. I'm sure there are several people excited to try one, myself included. So I will let you guys get back to talking. I just wanted to ask that question. I appreciate it.
Awesome, Cayman. How do I get into well, if you don't mind sending me an email, or we'd love to connect you.
Yeah, we'll connect you. I mean, and sorry guys to interrupt. This is Carlos, Justin's partner in all of this, and I'm not sure what Justin set up in the preamble, but we've been in business now for a few years with this technology. The technology has a history back, weirdly enough, in its origins to the U.S. military, which we won't bore you with, but there's been a lot of R&D to get to this point in this application. But our main business today is really in plants and helping people keep plants healthy. We have a lot of customers across the US and soon in Costa Rica because we just got approved there. So a lot of this came about because we heard the beekeepers. And so this is really us just proving to ourselves that there's, a real application, a real market here. And there's certainly a lot we don't know yet. But we certainly think we can give beekeepers a tool in the tool chest that they may not have today. And that's why you're hearing us roll out the way we're rolling out. This is not our mainstream business. This is something we're getting into for the first time. So appreciate you guys, asking the questions. And, to Justin's point earlier, we're looking for folks to help us with the research as much as we're hoping we can get folks to pre-sell. So it's we're moving quickly, but appreciate the time tonight. Sorry to interrupt.
So it sounds like you're open to, beekeepers around the United States who are willing to participate as citizen scientists in your research. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Great. Nelda, you had a question?
Yes, thank you. What's the expected date on EPA approval, or is that, where are we in the process of EPA approval? And will that even matter if you're going both directions for EPA approval and also as a supplement?
So we are launching as a supplement, and that is happening sort of eminently with kind of this crowdfund launch. We have a different formulation that we are working actively to get through the EPA. It's been let's just say it's getting a registered miticide is not particularly straightforward, and there's probably folks on this call that have better experience with that than we have specifically for this market. But we do know that the EPA is engaged and they are interested in moving that formulation forward. Again, we struggle with not fitting well within kind of any bucket. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
I will say this to add to it. I've been part of some of the conversations with the EPA, with Dr. Pettis, and the EPA is a big organization, but we have found folks who seem very motivated and were encouraging to help us through the process. And there's probably at least 20 different lines to go through that. But I will say I think there's some folks in the EPA who are eager to see this and or other products that can be helpful and still be benign to the environment, get through the process. So I'm pretty hopeful.
So we had a couple other questions, you guys. One is, what are the specific amino acids that you are attacking with this approach?
It's a great question. It's a bit of our trade secret. So just know it's one you can consume.
It works, right?
Yeah, and it works. So there's several that we use. It's actually a blend, and so again, they're all food grade. But yeah, we hold that a little bit close to the vest. I did see another question that was the webinar chat actually just popped up on my screen. It asks, is it effective? Yes, this is Stacy. Is it effective against microbes? The answer to that is yes. It's a weak oxidant, so it has very similar. It has effects on yeast molds, viruses, that sort of stuff. So you can expect it to have sort of a broad anti-pest effect in a hive.
How about for beetles? I know that some of the, Cayman deals with that down in his country, and others like Bob Binney. Any research on that?
I truly doubt it'll have any impact on beetles. We've treated a couple of hives that had beetles in them. I don't, we haven't done any, we haven't caught any beetles and then done efficacy testing on them, similar to what I showed you with the varroas and kind of a petri dish. I have a very hard time believing it would have an effect on beetles. The same reason a beetle is a much more complicated organism like a bee than a mite. And so that's part of the reason why we don't think we see a lot of mortality with the bees. I don't think we'd see a lot of mortality with beetles.
All right. Sorry, guys, the questions are firing in here, which is a good sign, for the mini conference. Can the bottom boards be a screen bottom board?
Oh, that's a really, really good question. We have seen that non-screen bottom boards are actually a bit more effective. They're a bit better holding the fog into the hive. That actually has shown itself in some of the mite data. And again, these are small data sets. So I hesitate to make any kind of resounding statistically significant conclusions, but we do know it does work on wire bottom boards. What we have done is, for hives that had wire bottom boards, we've just put mite boards in. The ones you can get at Man Lake that slide into the bottom. Those seem to do a really good job helping to hold the fog in.
Great. So somebody asked the question, beekeepers are known to adapt to using other products. What is involved in activating it, and would a Burgess fogger work?
Not familiar with the Burgess fogger. The way we're approaching this market is that you would need, you would need our device to both activate and fog it into the unit, because it's kind of an all-in-one device. You do have to have an electrocatalytic activator.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and then sorry, did I cut you off?
no, go ahead.
Yeah. So one other question is, so let's say you have, instead of one brood box, you have two full brood boxes. How does that treatment, how effective is it on say a two brood hive, 2-box brood hive?
Yeah, I mean, we've treated all the way up to kind of 4 and 5 stack hives. We do increase the amount of chemistry that goes into the bigger hives. Whether it's 1 or 2 brood boxes, I don't think. Again, we're not penetrating the wax cap, so it really just has to do with making sure we get good exposure to the mites on the adult bees. Again, we're pretty confident we're not penetrating the brood cap yet, or at least our current blend doesn't. And so, it's something that we're working on.
Yeah, so somebody had that was watching didn't get your full explanation about how it affects how the technology was originally being used on plants. You kind of cut out at the end, and they just wondered if you'd revisit that real quick.
Yeah. We started the company with a focus on indoor agriculture, and we were looking more at pests like powdery mildew, botrytis, yeast mold, that sort of stuff. And discovered that we had some customers that had some spider mite infestations. And so they found it to be quite effective. And again, it's not the same blend, it's a different blend, but it's a similar technology. They found that it was quite effective at helping control those spider mites. And so kind of at the same time, we had been asked whether this was something that could be used in a beehive, and found out that the mites were a big issue in apiculture, and we're often kind of running. Did some very initial tests on, does it work on varroas? Yes, it does. And does it harm bees? And again, we've seen no enhanced mortality with this chemistry over kind of fogging with water. We've done some worst case scenario fogs in some developmental hives where we drowned a few bees, but I mean, it was very similar to what you would see if you had fogged a hive with RO water. There's an amount of water that they can't handle in the hive. But no, we've actually seen no increased mortality with the bees. And in fact, if anything, we've seen the opposite. We've observed the opposite, which is in some cage trials, bees that are treated with this tend to last a little bit longer. And you know, again, what's left behind are amino acids and salts, or things that the bees can use. So.
Thank you. Great. Yeah, you answered another question in the process of that, so appreciate that. So somebody had a question on how does it kill the mite? You know, their question was, does it affect the outer shell of the mite, or do the mites eat it? If the mites do consume it, how does that affect the larva?
Sure. We see no larva, no egg mortality, or no issues with that, again, in the treatments that we've done. Our belief is, and again, this is not 100% well understood, and you know, it takes a while to understand modes of operation, just because it's kind of hard to tell what happens on a kind of a micro scale. But it is a weak oxidant, so what it does is it strips electrons from surfaces where and when it can. Because it is such a weak oxidant, it will only strip electrons from, and I'll kind of, you know, put these in quotation marks, from kind of weak surfaces. And, you know, the soft surfaces, the soft-bodied surfaces of, and the surface area of soft-bodied pests, that, you know, things that you can actually strip electrons from, is much higher than it is on more complicated organisms like bees that have a stronger exoskeleton. And so, you know, we believe, and again, there's not scientific proof on this, but we believe that the mode of activation is we're able to oxidize those soft body parts, and you know, the mites aren't able to tolerate it, whereas the bees can.
Great. Dwayne, are you there? Did you have your hand raised at one time?
Yeah, I was looking at double boxes and he answered the question.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Dwayne.
Well, Carlos and Justin, I think we tapped out our questions. So thank you for being patient and taking the time to do this. Carlos, we appreciate you jumping on the phone. Know you're traveling, and so it means a lot to you. Took some time out to be with us tonight, so thank you for that.
Sure, appreciate you guys giving us the opportunity to talk to you. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to email me, justin@terravera.com, and excited to hear from you guys.
All
Yeah,
right,
please
thank
help
you.
us figure out what we don't know, guys and gals. We really appreciate it.
We can do that. All right, thanks to the panelists for being here tonight. We had a good turnout, Justin and Carlos, so I think it was worth your time. You know, we had a good showing tonight, so we appreciate this, and maybe we'll have you back in the spring to kind of give us an update on how things are going then.
That'd be wonderful.
All right. Well, thanks
Thank you.
everyone for attending tonight, and if you have any other subjects that you'd like us to cover, just let us know, and we'll do what we can to get the right person on the mini conference for that. So thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, happy holidays.
Cheers.